Hello, welcome to the Sky Dancers Center for Female Mysticism's interview with Chief Luisah Teish, author of Jambalaya. She is an Orisha priestess, priestess of Oshun. She is a mentor to so many. She is the grandmother of Orisha worship in the United States, being one of its most vocal and creative contributors. And we are just so grateful for you to make the time today. I wanted to ask you, Chief Teish, if you would kindly give us your full title, your full name and title, because we know Luisah Teish from the cover of your book, but I know that you have a full religious title.
Well, let me begin by saying Alafia. Everybody know that I bring you wishes for sparkling good health and peace with your neighbors, which is the two things that I think we really need at this day and time. You know, I tell people to call me Yeye because if we did all my names and titles, we'd be here all day, but I'm gonna try to give you an idea. My name as an Orisha priestess, as an Iyalo Orisha, is Oshun Miwa, which means the love goddess gives me my character. Okay, my chieftaincy title is Yeye Woro Temi La De. Yeye Woro means mother of the many, and Temi La De, the crown is mine. Okay. And then my Ifa name is Iyanifa Fajembola Fatumishe. And it means that Ifa positions me to become wealth. Okay. Ifa positions me to become wealth. And I think that the real wealth of my life, if I may be so bold, is to say that I have been blessed to have people who I feel are kindred spirits all over the world, in every culture, just about, on every continent, in every race, and everywhere that I go, I am recognized as somebody that the clan mothers in Australia, the elder mothers in Native American, you know, the secret women's societies in Africa, the covens in Europe, everywhere that I go, you know, people invite me into their sacred space, you know. And for me, that and being allowed to learn the mythology and folklore of so many cultures, that is where the richness and the royalty and the love in my life is positive. So, you know, with all those titles, I just tell people, call me Yeye.
Thank you, Yeye. And
call me Yeye.
You know, I think bring a wealth of gifts of magic and wisdom to all of the places you visit too. So you are that wealth for us as well. How did you get involved with your Orisha path? I've read your book, Jambalaya, and I love it, and I recommend it to our temple members. But, you know, in your own words, tell us a little bit about when you got involved, how you got involved, and where it's taken you.
Well, you know, growing up in New Orleans, I grew up around the whisperings of voodoo and in the midst of a lot of retentions of African spiritual culture, but without explanation for why my mother and the women in my community was so different from the women on television. I mean, they interpreted people's dreams. I saw them make rain. They had very specific protocols for when a baby was born. And I kept asking, why y'all do that? And they tell me that's what the old folks say. And so I would go and ask Mama Ludi, who was the oldest person, and she'd say that's what the old folks say. And after a while, it occurred to me that the old folks were not only the old folks in Haiti, but the old folks in Africa, and in fact, the old folks from the beginning of time. And the wonderful thing about it is when you start saying to the ancestors that I want to know this or that, especially when it comes to spiritual practice, they hear you. They put you on a track of a journey of accomplishment so that you encounter people who know what you need to know. You walk through the bookstore, a book falls on your head. You get a visitation in a dream, and you are basically led in the direction that you need to go. In my case, particularly, even though I'd studied a whole bunch of things, and I was an anthropology major, and I did psychology, and a whole bunch of different things, but theater was my foray in when I started dancing with Madame Catherine Dunham in the 60s. Being with her threw me in the middle of people from Africa, from South America, from the Caribbean, who practiced various traditions of the diaspora. And then in 1972, when I moved to the Bay Area, I joined a dance group called Batakoto, the drum, the yam drum. And they played bata drums, and we did the dances that we knew how to do of the Orishas. Now, what is amazing about all of this is that once you ask the question, who am I and why am I here? And what is the meaning of these urgings, these dreams, etc.? A series of events unfold that put you on your path, okay? And with the dance, I was put right on path where I was meeting the right people. I was experiencing the spirituality firsthand, not just something that was being read in a book or like that. And when I came to San Francisco in 1971, I was teaching dance and was invited to join that group, Batakoto. When I joined Batakoto, we started going down to LA to show the dances that we were doing to Orisha priests, to ask if we were being authentic enough. Were we getting the point across? Did we have the right music, etc.? And I remember the priest said to me, one day you will be a priestess, right? And I said, I don't know about all that. I'm trying to win an Oscar, Oh, youthful folly, right? But, Shum said, I got your Oscar. I got your Oscar. And things continued to happen to move me toward Ocha. I want to take this opportunity to say to people out there that from the day that they told me that I should make Ocha, it took me 8 years to actually do it, right? I went through 5 different houses before I actually did it, because my ancestors wanted me to be sure that I was being initiated in the right house at the right time. And also, very, very importantly, You know, if you cultivate a relationship with your ancestors, if you take your time and establish a first-hand relationship with the Orishas themselves, you will have a clearer understanding of what your relationship is, and you're less likely to be tricked by some of the charlatans out here who are sucking up the energy, you know. So, you know, I was initiated for Oshun, and then that was in 1982. And then in 2001, I was initiated for Ifa. Okay. Okay. Now, in between, on the way there, and all in between, I've gone through a number of initiations. You know, I had an initiation into the Bahami Temple of Amun Ra, which is Egyptian, the Green Tyra. I spent some time with Father Amdi, a Coptic minister. I taught for the University of Creation Spirituality, which teaches Christian mysticism. I was initiated for Dambala with Mama Lola. I've been to Baha'i firesides. I've chanted, you know, and whoa, and you know, I used to hold a point on the medicine wheel with Sun Bear. I'm a pipe carrier, and the thing that I could say now is that we all need to listen to our ancestors. We all need to look for the universal principles that are at work in nature and in human nature, and come to understand how the different traditions bring information about the nature of reality to us. Now, being an Ifa Orisha priestess, I am privileged, and I want to use that word very, very clearly. I am privileged to be a member of a tradition where our oracles, our means of understanding what the universe and nature is saying to us, is very, very, very intact. There are, you know, I mean, when it comes to looking for ways to express the patterns of energy that are at work in the universe, in the natural world, and in human life, the oracles of Dilogun and Opuele are the most elaborate, intricate, and active of the oracles, you see, because it's dynamic. You know, you receive an Odu, it hits the tray, and it is not a one-dimensional thing that hits the tray. It is an energy that is released in the atmosphere, and we begin to live the Odu. We see the evidence of what has been said in the Odu. We see it in the world of spirit. We see it in our own life. We see it in our community, and we see it in the operations of the planet. I think that maybe a good way to help people to understand what I'm saying is back in the 90s, there was a divination done, because we do a divination for the year to provide guidance for that year. I'm trying to remember which year it was, maybe 93 or 94, where the Odu said that Yemaya would be granting us medicines from the ocean. Okay. Now, every Odu has an Ire and an Ibi side, Ire and Osobo. It has a light side and it has a shadow side. And so I'll never forget it. That year, the shadow side manifested as a catastrophe on the East Coast where a group of AIDS-infested needles was washed up on the shore. So, you know, the question there becomes, who is it who was so trifling and so stupid that they thought they could dump biological waste like that in the ocean and that it would just sink,
right,
and they could hide their crime? No, it washed up on the shore. It was exposed. Everybody saw it. And
I remember.
Remember that?
I
Okay.
remember.
Okay. And in the same year, it was also found that the oil from the saltwater catfish played a significant role in the remission of cancer.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So depending upon how we interact with the Odu, it can be a blessing, as in the gift of the saltwater catfish, or it can throw our ignorance right back in our faces. Okay. And, you know, I tell people all the time that you cannot assume that what's being said to you is just for the individual or just for the group. It's for the whole planet. It reverberates out off of the tray ad infinitum into space. So with the dumping in the ocean, with the chemicals that are being let loose, all of these things at this point have me concerned that if we keep this up, given that the ocean is the place where the single cell animal multiplied, got out of the water and walked on land, the power that is there in the ocean, if it is mistreated, Olokun and Yemaya will give us something that makes Godzilla look like a kitten.
Okay.
Okay. I think the most important thing that I can say is that the Odu contain the repeated patterns of existence in human nature, in the natural world, and in the cosmos. So when it arrives, when it hits the tray, know that the portal between heaven and earth has been opened, and we have been given the proverb, the story, the prediction, and the prescription to put us on the best path for ourselves in this life.
You know, when you're describing that moment when the Odu hits the tray, it reminds me a little bit of when we see the monks put the sand mandala on the table, because it's not just a two-dimensional flat depiction. When we look at the two-dimensional depiction, it's our vestiture of life force that springs it into life, and then it creates the world. It's similar to when witches cast a circle and something within the circle and then release the circle, it goes out into the world. So worldwide, I think we have many different ways that this comes together, but I'm wanting to hear more about the Odu. The Odu are the corpus of knowledge that have been attached to this divination system. And this divination system has different manifestations through palm nuts, through a chain with nuts on it, through shells. Can Can you unpack that a little bit for us and tell us, you know, when somebody is going to begin to learn how to interact with the Odu, where do they start? How does that relationship come to being? Or maybe more broadly, how did that relationship come into being for humanity? Who decided to do this?
Well, here's what's interesting about that. If the truth be told, the energy of the universe is always, just like the radiations from the sun are always moving toward the earth, the energy of the universe is always coming this way to inform us of what's going on. Different cultures and different traditions receive or register this energy in different patterns. So there's the Odu of Ifa, there is the hexagrams of the I Ching, there's the symbolism of the tarot, you know, and all of those systems are designed to provide us with the best story that can be told to help us finite beings to understand the infinite. Okay? Egba is the one who translates the energy of the infinite into language that we who are finite beings can comprehend. Where the shells fall, how the chain falls, there is an agreement with creation stylized that says when it falls this way, there is this body of knowledge attached to it that provides us with proverbs and stories, etc., that will explain big universal laws in language that we can comprehend. It will tell you what are the repeated patterns that have shown up in human life over time. Okay, now one of the problems that we have is that we need to reclaim our indigenous minds. We've been trained to think that only the written word is true. All we have to do is remember the written word and regurgitate it, you know, the names, dates, places syndrome in education. But Odu is not like that. Odu becomes real when you embody it, when you manifest the meaning of it, when you express it in some form by creating something, when you share it in community, when you recognize it at work in nature, okay? And so we have stories, several stories about the coming, you know, the coming of Odu. Why is it that we can cast an oracle and receive a message? You know, one of those stories says that after Obatala had covered this planet with soil in addition to the water and created continents, etc., that several Orishas was sent down to settle the place. And, you know, Batala, Shango, Ogun, they came, and the only female who came was Oshun. Okay. But these male energies made the mistake of assuming that they didn't need her because they thought that, you know, she didn't seem to have a lot of muscle like Shango. She didn't seem to have tools like Ogun. You know, she didn't seem to have all of this grandiosity that Obatala had in creative power. And so they devalued her contribution, right? And the way the Odu Oshe Otura goes, it says that, you know, Oshun said, we gonna see. And she went and sat on the moon somewhere and powdered her face while they attempted to manifest reality on earth, and nothing they did worked. They couldn't make no tools, they couldn't build no houses, they couldn't shape anything, they couldn't create anything. And so they went running up to Olodumare and saying, what you sent us down here for if we can't accomplish nothing, you know? And Olodumare said, somebody's missing from this crew that I sent down there. Where is Oshun? You know? And when a comment was made that they had assumed that they didn't need her, Olodumare summoned her, okay? And of course, when he summoned her, the sweet water returned to the earth. She took all the sweet water with her when she left. You know what I'm saying? The sweet water returned to the earth, and Olodumare told them, you have to apologize to her. You know, you really have to apologize to her. And so they said, so they apologized. But one of my elders told me, when you read the original Yoruba, she accepted their apology, but she told them, don't let it happen again. Okay? Don't let me be disrespected again. And because she was kind of pissed off that they had disrespected her in the first place, she turned herself in on herself, and a legba came out of her.
Oh, parthenogenesis.
And he became the messenger of the deities. He became the interpreter. So prior to that, Oshun was the primary messenger of Olodumare. And the message was, do not denigrate or depreciate the feminine, because you can't do nothing without it. You cannot do anything without it, you know. And then, you know, that's a point that we really need to take a look at this point in human evolution, in the problems that we're facing on this planet. It will be the healed, elevated energy of the divine feminine that will lead us toward being able to repair the planet and preserve our humanity. It is because the unbridled masculine, you know, all that fire, all that air, all that energy, without the presence of sweet water, without the presence of love, without the presence of compassion, without the presence of that, they couldn't create nothing. They couldn't create nothing, okay? And now that energy has gone buck wild, okay? It is polluting the water, the land, the air, the food. It is exploiting the children. It is abandoning the elders. It is raping the queen bee. I don't know if people understand that if we kill off all the bees, the rest of us starve.
Right.
Okay, the bees are our primary pollinators. They work for us all day long, making sure that our food is going where it's supposed to go. So to me, it is only through a recognition and an embracing of the powers of the divine feminine with the sacred masculine in its place as support and protection, not domination, in its place as support and protection. That is the combination that we need in order to make sure that there's a future on this planet. And for those of us in Orisha tradition, I'd like to call your attention to the reading for this year that just came out on June the 5th from the Council of Elders, where the Odu is Otura Meji, right? And it's coming with combat.
Mm.
And we are told, do not wage war, do not attack. We are told that the perspective of the women must be taken into account. The women must be protected and honored, and the culture needs to pay attention to the direction that the women are turning us in, lest we fall into endless war and destruction. You know, people, we can't play with this.
And isn't it true that the Odu are considered a feminine wisdom, and that the divination of Odu is like a birthing of wisdom from the womb of wisdom?
That's right. From the
Can you
womb of
unpack
creation.
that for us a little bit? Mm-hmm.
From the womb, the very word Odu means womb.
Mm.
The very word Odu means womb. If you are reading the Opele, or if you are reading cowrie shells, you know, and you look at the symbolism of those tools, you see the yoni.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see the feminine symbol. It totally makes sense, because all life is birthed through the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
There's no two ways about it, you know. And so I think one of the problems that people may have in understanding the importance of Odu is that our Western education does not teach us to understand the language of myth and symbol.
Mm.
Myth with a capital M, not myth just as, you know, a little lie, something that's untrue, or not myth just as somebody else's little story, but myth as the stories that reveal the repeated patterns of existence that continue to manifest throughout time. Throughout time. There are no people who don't have a creation myth. There's no such thing as a group of people who have no story about how they came into being. There is no such thing as any group of indigenous people who did not have some way of divining what is the will of spirit. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And so we are fortunate, those of us who have access to Odu. We have a body of knowledge that's been preserved in one way or another. But I want to call people's attention to, you know, when we read about the early Greeks casting lots or reading entrails, you know, if we read about people cutting figures into the sand, if we keep going down, we come upon people reading shells, stones, bones, etc. There is a pre-birth agreement that was made between us, the finite creatures, and the cosmos, and what we like to call God, the infinite, that there could be communication between us through various systems. But in order to understand and appreciate that communication, we have to do three things. We have to get our ego out of the way. We have to study. And we have to use the oracle and receive the message with integrity. That is, once you've been told, once you know better, then you got to do better.
Yes. Yes.
Once you know better, you got to do better.
That's
Okay.
right.
And that is true. That is true everywhere. What I do love as a storyteller, though, is the way that a message comes across in the folklore. You know, it's not. We don't have a situation where commandments are handed down.
Mm.
Thou shalt not this, that, or the other, right?
Mm.
What we get is stories with characters in them that not only appeal to our intellect, but that appeal to our hearts and our way of thinking and doing. So let me give you an example. Can you hear that?
Mm-mm. Oh yeah, I hear it a little bit.
Okay, you hear.
Oh, now you're muted.
Okay, so if you have you ever heard a woodpecker pecking?
Yeah.
Okay, you know the sound of a woodpecker pecking?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's what's happening there. I was told by one of the old dudes that a long time ago, Mr. Woodpecker flew around the forest and he noticed that a whole lot of the other birds were shaking their tail feathers, fluffing their wings, blowing out their throats, and doing fancy dances in the bush. And for some reason, he got it in his mind that these other birds were flirting with his wife. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he got so desperate, he decided he had to do something about it. So he grabbed her up and he went over to this tree and he pecked until he had a big hole and he shoved her in the hole and filled in all them wood chips, right?
Mm.
Thinking that he had tucked her away safely, he went flying all over the bush, right? And after a while, he noticed that these other birds still kept shaking their tail feathers, fluffing their wings, blowing up their necks, calling out and dancing, even though he had locked his wife up in the tree. And then he reconsidered and he said, ooh, maybe they really weren't flirting with her. Maybe that's just what they do. I guess I better go over here and let her out. So he went over to the tree and when he pecked the hole open, she wasn't there. Okay? And he said, oh my goodness, maybe I went to the wrong tree. So he went to another tree and he pecked and she didn't come out. She didn't answer. He went to another tree and he pecked and she didn't come out. And he been running around forever pecking, trying to find out which of them trees has his wife inside. Now, the problem with that is he forgot that she was a woodpecker too. Okay? And as soon as he left her, she went to the other side of the tree and she pecked her way out. She stuffed it up and she ran away with the blue jay. Okay? Now, this is the story that you tell to someone who is jealous and suspicious of their partner, their mate, without any true cause.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, this is a person who must not be aggressive based on their suspicions because you finna lose everything you got from being too possessive.
Yeah.
And you finna get involved in a feeling that you're going to regret for the rest of your life.
That is brilliant. Brilliant.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Okay. So here's somebody who needs to clean their head in front of Oshun. Here's somebody who needs to sit down and have a talk with his wife.
Yeah.
Here's somebody who needs to shut his mouth if he's been talking bad about her, right? And here's somebody who needs to figure out whether or not he has been having an attitude toward some of the people around him, his friends. He's been suspicious of them. Yeah, I know. When I ain't there, she's with John. No, she ain't with John. John ain't, her and John ain't thinking about each other. They going on about their business. This is all about your insecurity.
That's right.
And you need to get over it. Okay? That's the way that old dude talks to us.
And you know, I have to say, as a long-time tarot reader and diviner, I've had to give that message quite a few times. I don't think I've ever given that message in a way that was quite so elegant as that. You know, I think one of the real gifts of the Odu is that they're elegant and timeless, and they're relatable, and they're natural and human, and we all can gather around them with a sense of open heart and really receive the wisdom and still laugh at ourselves.
That's right.
We'll have a little laugh about the human condition.
It's real. I love it. You know, I love it, and I love that usually there is something that you have to do. You know, go before Oshun and apologize for that jealousy. You know,
that's right.
Have a talk with your partner. You know, bring them a gift. Do some flowers. You know, do something to rebalance the energy. Rebalancing the energy, and I want to take this minute again to say something to people coming into the tradition who may not be clear about this. Okay, making the ebo, bringing the candle with the 5 oranges and the money or whatever on the plate is designed to rebalance the energy where you may have gotten off balance. But that has to be followed by a shift in your consciousness and a change in behavior. Okay,
it's not a magic bullet.
It's not a magic bullet. You know, too often I get people who, oh, I want a reading. Okay, and I open the D-Logoon and I say, okay, Orisha say, and they say, oh yeah, Baba so-and-so told me that. Or Orisha said, yeah, Iya so-and-so told me. Oh, hold it. Wait a minute. Why are you here in front of me? Got me telling you the same thing that you've been told by 3 other priests? Did you come here hoping I would lie to you?
Right. Maybe I'd give you a different answer.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's not what's happening.
Right.
What you need to do is do your homework.
That's right. That's right.
You need to do your homework. And it's taken me a while to get here. I know a lot of priests feel like they have to argue. You marking that bull for somebody. I don't want to do that. And we try to explain it and almost beg, please do the bull because it's going to make your life better, blah, blah, blah. I've gotten to the place where I say 2 things. Go ahead and don't do the bull. And then come back and tell me why you should have. Because you're going to see that you should have. You know, the way things will unfold, you will know I should have done what Yeye told me. If I had done this, I wouldn't be in the situation today. And then the people who don't want any homework, when you say, I want you to salute your ancestors at least once a week. I want you to meditate you need to, you know, go see Ogun, you need to do this, that, or the, oh, well, can't I just give you some money and you kill a chicken for me? No,
No.
no, that's not how that works. And if you don't care nothing about your life, why should I?
Well, that is some wisdom.
Come
That
on
is
now.
some wisdom right there.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
too
some
late in
wisdom.
the day for that. It's too
Now,
late in the day for that.
you mentioned, Yeye, that you do readings for people. If somebody were to want to have a consultation with you, how would they go about doing that?
Well, they can go to my website, www.yeyeluisateish.com, and click on the divination button, and they'll see the three kinds of divination that I do. I do water gazing, I do tarot with water gazing, and I do Dilogun with water gazing. Now, you know, I've had Ifa. I made Ifa in 2001, but in my Odu for receiving Ifa, they told me that my Okwele was not for everyday consultation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I read that when it's time for a baby to be born, when it's time for a wedding to occur, when there's a funeral, when an organization is trying to, you know, do something. And so I prefer, if somebody's really serious, I prefer to do Dilogun with them, and most of the time, and get people on the track
Mm-hmm.
toward their spiritual development. And so far, I have to say that I've been reading. My God, I've been reading Dilogun since 1984.
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, and because I take time with the person to make sure that you understand what the Odu is doing and reinstate the practice. You know, when we were in our indigenous ways, you didn't just read the oracle and tell people the story, you helped them to embody it. You gave them an understanding of what they had to do to manifest it. So it really becomes a consultation. And
Mm-hmm.
I need to say, anybody who's interested in a reading from me, don't get a reading from me if you're just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you are really wanting to know
Yes.
what your ancestors want you to do, if you're really wanting to get on your spiritual path, if you're really ready to embrace what they have to say to you, do the work, I'm your girl.
Yes.
I'm your girl. Anything other than that, we're not gonna mess with Dilogun. Even people need to know tarot ain't nothing to play with either.
That's true.
Okay? Those symbols are universal,
And
they are powerful.
yes.
Okay? A good reader is telling you what, you know, what the message is. I remember when I first started reading tarot back in the mid 70s. You know, back then I was reading tarot for whatever donation you wanted to make, right? And I remember a man who came to me and he sat down and he said, I want to know about my money. So I start opening the cards, and everything in the cards is insinuating something ain't right, issues of health is coming up, bad judgment is coming up, unnecessary risk is coming up, and you keep pulling out cards and throwing more around it. You keep questioning let me give me some more information about the fear card. Give me some more information about the environment card. Give me some more information about the free future. Give me some more information. What's crossing this person up? And it kept coming up. Health. It kept coming up. Wrong decision. It kept coming up, you know, like that. And I told him, I said, this, this is all about health. Ain't no pentacles in here. Ain't
Mm.
nothing about no money in here, right? And he got mad at me. And he threw a dollar bill at me and he stormed out. Okay. A few months later, I'm walking down, it was like, those houses, those streets between Broadway and Telegraph. There's like Opal and
Mm-hmm.
it was around there somewhere near MacArthur. I'm walking up the street. There's an ambulance in front of this man's house. He's on a stretcher. I go over to the ambulance. He's reaching, Teish, you gotta help me. I had a heart attack. And I'm the I told you so kind, okay? I told him, I said, now see, if you had paid some attention to your health when the cards tried to tell you, you'd be making some money right now. But you finna go pay a hospital bill. Okay? Get it clear. Get it clear. Get it clear. And all of the oracles are like that. If you throw the I Ching and you ain't serious, you'll get hexagram number 4, youthful folly. It says, I do not seek to fool the young fool. The young fool seeks to fool me.
The oracle always knows. And isn't it true that the oracle will sometimes tell the diviner messages even in the reading? I know that happens for me in tarot. And remember that when our beloved friend Iya Oshogbo read for me once, she threw the shells and she looked at them. And then she pushed her glasses up and she said to me, well, honey, we're both fitting to learn something from this.
That's right. That's right.
And it was, and I now know as diviner myself, I see it happening and I'm like, there's something for me.
Oh, yeah.
And isn't that the joy of being a diviner and working with the oracles, is that we're all always learning.
Always learning. And what I love is the language that develops between you and the oracle. 2 examples I want to give you. When I was learning tarot back in the 70s, there came a point where I imagined that I knew enough about it, right? And I pulled out my cards and I said, I now know everything I need to know about tarot. Isn't that true? And the first card I laid down was the Fool reversed.
Oh.
The next card was the Judgment reversed, right?
Oh.
The next card was the Tower. It was like, okay, fool. Okay, you finna fall out of that false tower.
That's
and
right.
know that this is a stupid question in the first place. And the one that I love that happens with Dilogun is you cast the first double Odu and it says it's Oche-Odi, or my favorite one is Obada D, and you talking to the person and explaining, and they ask a question. And you throw again and you get the same Odu. And the way I hear it, it's Orisha saying, didn't I already tell you?
I told you once.
I told you once. Why are you asking me again?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And especially with the shells, what are the odds that you would throw the same thing twice?
I'm telling you.
Unless the odds are...
Yeah, astronomical.
Right.
256 to the 256th power.
That's right. That's right. And yet, there you are.
There you are. It is really amazing. I think the most important thing, though, is to study so that you understand the stories and the symbolism, and to get your own ego out of the way
Mm.
so that you are transmitting what spirit is saying and not something that you are projecting.
Right. Speak the truth, not necessarily what you want it to be.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, Yeye, I've had so much fun interviewing you today. I see you have your fan and I have my fan.
Ooh,
I
baby.
wonder if maybe you'd like to give our viewers a little blessing before we go.
All right.
You know, and use your fan as a symbol of sending out those clouds of blessing.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think that if I may speak as the voice of Oshun, years ago when I first went to Oshogbo, I was when we were initiating Yeye Oshogbo, we were in the temple in the town of Oshogbo, and I am very busy being quiet because I'm trying to look at what the Iyalo Day is doing. I'm trying to listen to the prayers. You know, I'm in a learning mode, and I am very, very quiet until we got down to the river, and I could not help but Iyamile Odo Iyamile Odo Bobo Ashe Iyami Sarama Oye Iyamile Odo. Yeah. And I started singing, honey. And a fish jumped up out of the river, did a triple somersault, and went back down in the water. And when that happened, the Oshun priestesses grabbed me by my arms and they started dragging me. I remember looking up and seeing the canopy of the trees and the sky peeping through the canopy. And they're just dragging me and they're going, oh, and they dragged me into the shrine. And I swear to y'all, oh my God, they had some kind of concoction of shea butter, honey, palm oil, and some leaves, something else that I could not tell you what it was. And they stuck that stuff in my mouth and rolled it all over my tongue. And I hope if I live to be 103, that never happens to me again. Okay? And the head priestess told me that the fact that the fish had jumped up out of the water when I sang was a sign that my tongue belonged to Oshun. And that she was using my head as a microphone. So they had to feed my tongue. Right? And you know, from that day on, I said, I'm gonna be real quiet. Because I don't know the consequences of having something else stuck in my mouth like that. You know, that was the blessing of the tongue that they did in Oshogbo. Okay, and so when I think of giving a blessing, I say to Oshun, you know, use my tongue as your microphone and allow me to speak what needs to be spoken at this time. And at this time, what I hear her saying is that we should remember that she is the goddess of second chances, but not of thirds.
Mm.
You know, that we need to remember that she does not like the abuse of kindness. She does not stand for the abuse of the weak, and that in order to receive her blessings, we have to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and do it with joy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That couldn't
Mm-hmm.
be more like honey to my ears.
Ashe.
That is,
Ashe.
and in our temple, we hold that to be the truth, that we do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because anybody's watching.
That's right. Well, I hope to see some people in my Jambalaya Spirit class.
Yes,
and I
you have a class coming up.
Yeah, I have a class coming up. It starts the first Sunday in July, and it runs through November. We're going to be going through Jambalaya and illuminating a lot of the information and energy in there. I also have guest lecturers who are going to talk about Akan tradition and Congo tradition and Kemetic tradition. And most importantly, you know, the people who enroll in the course, I want you to take advantage of opportunities to meet with me in real time at various ventures. Like the 23rd of July, there'll be a book party and a drum ceremony at Oyanike's Botanica on Ashby and Adeline in Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
And then there will be, there will be the Afrobotany Conference in Costa Rica. You can still sign up for that. I can see you at the Institute of Noetic Sciences in July, in Hawaii in September, in New York in October. Just keep going to my website, my Facebook page, and I'll keep you informed of where I am, because I want to see you face to face.
Yes.
Okay.
It's time to make those real-time connections.
That's right. We have to.
I think we're going to be hopefully hosting you to come and do some teaching in Mount Shasta, and looking forward to your exploratory visit. And I just want to say from my heart, thank you. You have been such an amazing exemplar for me and for so many women who wanted to kind of access the world of spirit and didn't know if they were allowed to listen to that voice within. And reading your book and reading about your relationship with She Who Whispers, your inner knowing was transformational for my life. I hope many women will avail themselves of this course, and I look forward to our next communion. Thank you so much.
All right, baby. Everybody, I always tell people, don't do nothing I wouldn't do.
Oh. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.